Hey, what's up? This is Tremelle from Look Up Music Group. I really want to share my testimony with you guys. I've been a Christian rapper for like 6 years now, and I've never, ever done a video about my testimony or my faith or like how I became to be me. I remember when I first started sharing my faith, I was probably I was 19. I want to say I went into a club and this guy named Talk Rock, I know a lot of you guys know Talk. He used to go to the youth group that I got saved in. And I remember I was still doing rap for the world. I was still doing secular rap. And I remember he's like, yeah, I'm going to go to this club and I'm going to perform this song. And it's a Christian song or whatever. I'm like, they're going to boo you, bro. You're crazy. And I went in there. I was like, well, I hope it goes well. And I was just standing there. Everyone was just like rocking with them. Everyone was just like had their hands up and was like, wow, I was like this. Everyone's doing this other type of rap, like Tech Nine type rap, and talking about killing people and doing whatever else. This guy was talking about, this is my testimony. This is Jesus. I love Jesus. And I was like, no way, And I think that moment kind of started clicking for me in my head that. Regardless if there is persecution or not, how genuine he was in his faith, that really showed me something. So to really start like from the beginning, as a kid I used to move a lot, and I never really had like my dad in my life. He was always like popping in and out every like 6 years, and I started to resent him. Me and my mom didn't have the best relationship, so at some point, I think I was like 12 or 13, she let me just basically go live with my friend in the neighborhood I grew up in Raleigh Heights. And basically, I just started running the streets with my friends at that point, and I had no real authority over me. Like, my mom's voice was always in the back of my head. The stuff I learned in church as a kid was always in the back of my head, but it was no true, like, fear of God, you know what I mean? It was, like, more so if I get caught by the cops, like, my mom's gonna trip out. But I got to this point where it became like a brotherhood with my friends, you know what I mean? And we would just do the stupidest things together, whether it was like doing beer runs or whether it was just fighting other kids at school, or just it got to the point where, a couple of my friends, they started selling dope and stuff, and I would just go with them. Like, it wasn't like I was selling it, but I was always with them. I felt like I was always the voice of reason, because subconsciously I know God truly had put a call in my life early on. I remember when I was 5, I don't believe in fortune tellers, but this fortune teller, I remember her telling my mom in the mall, I was like, this one's going to be a soldier for God. And I was like, that's so strange, like, when I really think about it. But I remember when I'd be out, like, with them, they'd be, like, selling stuff. Like, I'd always just be, like, almost, like, praying for us. It's kind of weird. Like, and just trying to be the voice of reason, not to do, like, too much, like, just get their money and get out. And I felt like that stuck with me through the darkest times when I started doing stuff that I thought I'd never do. I feel like what really changed me was when I turned 15. I started going to this youth group with a buddy. He's like basically my best friend now. But then I just met him. He was just some random kid at school. I met up through my other friend, and we started hanging together, and we went to this youth group to go fight this kid that was trying to take his girlfriend or whatever. And this guy was like, hey, hi. Like, the guy that was like the head leader of the youth group, he's like, my name's Jeff. Like, how you doing, man? I'm like, this dude's weird, but what's going on? My name's Tremelle, blah, blah. And he's like, we're glad you're here. We have food. We have love. We're just glad you're here. And when you learn about Jesus, I'm like, cool, man. Like, in my mind, I'm like, we just came to fight this kid. Like, I'm like, get out of here. And then that actually turned into like a bond with them, because I saw something in them that day that I'd never seen in another person, another human being. And it was truly the love of God. It was truly a godly example of what it means to be a Christian. And not only be a Christian, but they have power. They live with the power that a lot of people don't know. And I think how I became to be me, I guess, today is like through all these different experiences. After I started going to the youth group, after that experience with him week after week. I think as much as I say I went for the basketball, the girls, or the food there, it was truly seeing their examples, and I knew they had something I didn't have, and that I desperately wanted it. And basically, for 3 years I went to that youth group, and each year, me and my buddy, we'd always be challenged by the youth pastors. They'd be like, do you believe in God? And do you believe He has purpose for your life? And we'd always be like, yeah, maybe, you know what I mean? And I remember one year we came back from camp, and we're like, know what? We're going to change. We're going to stop doing sin. So we sat in the house and did nothing for 3 days. At the end of that 3 days, we're like, what the heck are we doing? Is this living for God? And then we're like, nah, like this is lame. We try not to cuss. Like every time we cuss, we hit each other in the arm. And so I remember we got like water balloons and went out to like the street, and we were hiding in a ditch, and we started hitting cars with water balloons. And we're like, yeah, that's boring. So that didn't last long. We had tried for like maybe 3 days, maybe a week. But still going to that youth group and hearing the messages each week, it started to really press upon my soul and make me ask deep questions. And maybe, I want to say it was still about 15, 16, I had my first premonition, my first crazy dream. It wasn't a premonition, that was just a crazy dream. And I really saw my whole life flash before my eyes in this dream. I was on a plane with one of my friends, and the plane was about to crash. And as the plane's about to crash, he was like, what do we do? What do we do? And I was like, let's start praying. Let's start praying. Naturally, that's what everyone wants to do before they die. You know, you think that you're going to be in your deathbed, just pray to God and send some prayer. He's like, yeah, welcome to the kingdom. And so I was just praying hard, like, God, forgive me for all my sins. I saw all my sins in my dream. I saw everything. And then he was crying, I was crying. And then, you know those dreams where you wake up right before you die? This was like one of those dreams I didn't wake up. The plane actually crashed, and I remember seeing my soul just floating to the sky. And as it was floating, I know it's a terrible reference, I don't even like this movie, but if you've ever seen like Harry Potter, there's like these spirit, ghostly looking things. And I hadn't even seen that at that point. But in my dream, it was like I was a ghost just floating to the sky, but I wasn't going to heaven. Even though I was going up, it was getting darker and darker. And I knew that I was going to hell. And it was weird, the more I was getting into the spiritual realm, I started losing my voice and my ability to speak the normal human language we speak. So it became grunts and just moans and screams and just calling out for God in my spirit, man. Like I was saying, God, save me, help me, I'm sorry. And I saw, my mom crying, and I was just floating, and I just heard all these people crying. And it was like, when I woke up from that dream, I realized for the first time that when you die, it's not what people think. It's not just, we can just say some prayer or hope we have enough good karma versus our bad karma, and that God's gonna tip the scale and say, good job, buddy. I know you did all this sin, but welcome to heaven. It's truly like, no, like we're gonna be accountable for every single word, every single thing that we ever said and did in life, and the things that we block out of our memory that we don't even want to think about, the nasty, sick things that we can say or do, we're truly gonna be judged for it. And after that dream, I spoke to my youth pastor about it, and I started living a little bit differently. I remember for about a week, and I started rapping around that same period of time. I remember I was just about to turn 16, and I wrote this rap about, it was called Code Red. I can't remember all the words, but it was basically like, I'm living in this way that I want to impress my friends, and I don't want to lose the respect of my friends, but I know we're living wrong. I know we're living in sin, and then if I die, I'm going to go to hell if I don't change. But it was like this respect factor that I thought if I told my buddies that I was a Christian now, that I wanted to follow God, that they wouldn't like me anymore or wouldn't respect me. And I remember talking to them after that, some of them, and asking them when they all, believed in God, and they all believed but it's like, it was just kind of like a thing, like in the back of their minds, like, oh yeah, I believe in revelations. I believe in the world's gonna end one day. Then I was like, okay, let's go, get a bottle of liquor. Let's go drink this weekend. Let's go do whatever. And once I saw like that's how they were, and I cared so much about their opinions, I went straight back into what I was doing, and I felt like even worse now. I remember there was this one point where we broke into somebody's house, and I remember that feeling of that rush that I got when we broke in, and thinking, wow, like this is actually fun. Like I could actually see myself doing this. And I started kind of getting scared because my buddy used to always joke, he's like, if you grew up in San Francisco, you'd be like terrible. Like you probably would have been, the craziest D-boy. And I remember like thinking, what if I can do this? What if this lifestyle isn't as bad as I always thought it was? But I praise God truly through all that even in the midst of all the binges and drinking parties and having fun with my friends, that God was still looking out for me the whole time. He was sending people into my life here and there, and I know He's sending people in your life. He does it for everybody. I don't care what any atheist says. I don't care what anybody says. He does it for people. He was calling me every single day, and I just wasn't responding. I would just tune it out and block it out. After that dream, I kind of just forgot, and I probably got to the age of 18 before the next serious time when I really started thinking about God. When I turned 18, it was the last year we had been on 3 end of the year or like summer camps with the youth group I was in, and I would always invite my buddies. I would always invite them, and they're like, nah, I ain't going there. They're brainwashing people. I ain't going there. And so I kept going with my one buddy, and I remember when we got there, or when we were going there at least, my friend he brought a friend that he was staying at a homeless shelter at the time, and this other kid who was 3 years younger than us, his name was Daniel. He wanted to come, and he invited him because he just didn't really have many friends or whatever. He was always getting invites and stuff, and I didn't like him at first. But when he came to the camp with us, he was super cool, and I really started to vibe with him and gel with him, and it was almost like he was like my little brother, like instantly. So in the van, we're rapping together, having fun, doing whatever, and at this camp, the same questions are being posed. Do you believe in God? Purpose of your life? Same questions, same fun activities, same everything, you know what I mean? But this time was different because I was older. I was about to be kicked out of the group because once you turn 18, you have to go into, next stage of life, go to a real church or whatever. And I really remember at that time, I was in a relationship with this one girl I was chasing. And I just remember like, even if this girl dates me, even if we have a real relationship, I won't be happy. I remember thinking that. I was like, even if this works out, like we're lost. Like I just remember like nothing means anything. I just have this sense of like, what does life mean? Like what's the purpose of life? And in my tent that night, there were like maybe 6 or 7 of us in the tent. I asked every single one of the kids, I was like, do you ever believe in God? And I remember them looking at me and saying, yeah, we believe in God, Tremelle. We believe in God. Like, don't you believe in God? And I remember thinking for a second, like, nah, I really don't. I don't think I do believe in God. As much as I read the Bible when I was a kid, as much as I've been to church and saw people fainting in the Holy Spirit, I thought it was all a show. I thought it was all a lie. I had prayed to God and not heard anything. And I just felt like it was all just for show, that people were just making it up in their head. And I was like, nah, I don't believe in God. And I was like, know what? If God is real, tonight ask Him to show us a sign. I told every single one of them. And they actually, before I even said that, they were like, yeah, actually, we don't believe in God either. We just keep saying we do. They just want to go to camp. They just want to have fun. So I was like, if God's really real, ask Him to show us a sign. And I remember going to sleep that night. My buddy, he was sleeping over there. All the kids that went to sleep. And I was basically just like talking to God, trying to talk to God if He was real. I was like, God, if you're really there, if you're truly real, I'll live for you. I'll do whatever. I say, God, if you're not real, if you don't hear me, if this is all make believe, that I'm gonna kill myself. There's no point in living. There's literally no point to life. And so I remember just staying up for like an hour that night, and I kept praying and just asking God to show me a sign, show me it's real, that there's so much hurt and pain in this life, God. There's so much bad stuff that happens. Like, what's the point of it all? And I remember just crying, and I remember all the kids were asleep. I was just talking to God, like, please, God, like, I don't even care. Like, I don't care what anyone thinks. Like, if you're real, just show me, God, just show me, because I'm miserable. I'm miserable trying to find my own self-worth. I'm miserable fighting this depression that I don't show anybody. I'm just always trying to be the best and the most popular and trying to get attention from people and being the center of attention. I just didn't want it anymore. It wasn't worth it. And I just said, God, show me a sign. And I remember going to sleep. And then the next day, we woke up, and we always had this quiet time they would do when we would wake up. And basically, I remember Daniel, he went to go pray by himself. I went to go pray, everyone went to go pray. And I remember just praying again when I woke up, praying so hard and falling asleep praying. I was like so mad because it was like I didn't feel anything happening. And I remember finishing that, and then I remember going to the lake that morning. And this is really early in the morning, and I just felt something so eerie. Like, you guys see my hair, I have like really long hair. I have long hair at that point too. And I always had to like wet my hair to like be able to comb it out and stuff. And I remember I went to a lake that morning by myself, and I went to dip my head in, but before I did, something felt so eerie about the whole lake. I felt like this presence of death. It was just weird. Like, I didn't even want to put my like head in it anymore. I just felt like something was gonna grab me, like one of those horror movies. And but I wanted to dip my head in real quick. Went back, just combed my hair, and went to breakfast. And then during breakfast, or right before they started breakfast, they were asking, does anyone want to share from their quiet time? Did anyone have anything happen to them during their quiet time they want to share? And Daniel wound up going to the front. And there was probably about like 40 kids at this camp. And I remember him just going up and him looking around and saying, I can't describe it, but in my quiet time, I felt the presence of God. I felt the Spirit of God. And if he can change Jeff's life, and if he can change Mike's life, then he can change my life. Those were the youth pastors. And he was just like, I've been such a bad kid. I've fought a bunch of people for no reason. I'm always getting in trouble at school. I'm always making my parents angry and doing stupid stuff, and I don't treat them right. And him just like confessing all this stuff and saying, I want to get right with God and apologize to them when I get home. And he just said all this stuff, and he was like, you know, he just felt the Spirit of God and that he was going to change. You know, and kids clapped and whatever. And I can't lie, even though I had formed a bond with him, was really close, I was sitting in the back, and I just had my arms crossed, my hoodie on, I remember, and I was just so sullen. I was so angry. And I was like, it was supposed to be me. I was the one praying. I was the one up all night. Where is God? Why is he talking to him? And I was just so angry. I remember we went to go get food and stuff, and we're hanging out, and then there was some activity on some log. We all had to like hold each other up and show each other, like, I forgot what, it was something about teamwork. After that, everyone went to go do whatever they were going to go do. It was like a free, you know, time from this period to the period. You can go play volleyball, play at the lake, go do jumping jacks, whatever you want to do. So me and my buddy Aaron, we went to go play volleyball, and then Daniel and another kid, they went down to the lake, and after we were playing volleyball, I was just trying to talk to this girl, and then I was like, all right, this is whack. I was like, let's go down there. Let's go hang out with Daniel. So me and Aaron started to walk down there, and then as soon as we get close by the water, we're starting to get close, cutting through the trees, we hear someone start yelling like, he's drowning, he's drowning. And we're just like, what? And we walk up to the water, and in the distance we can see Daniel going like this, up and down, up and down. And we're like, oh, this guy's playing. This guy's acting, they're just acting stupid because Daniel could swim. Like, they're just out there, they had swam out there. And so I'm like, whatever, this is stupid. And then you just see like this panic on this kid's face that was with him. You just see this sense of like, this is, I'm serious, like he's drowning. And like a shudder just went through our body at that moment. And it was just like, what do we do? I can't really swim too well. My friend can swim. I was like, you get in the water. Like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, dude, don't do it. He's like, just look how far he is. Like, so we were just like arguing back and forth. Like, should we get in the canoe? And we're just like panicking. And I remember freezing up at that moment. Like, I don't know what to do. And I remember one of the youth, the camp counselors grabbed the canoe. He's like, get out the way. He jumped in the canoe, and everyone was getting into the water. Everyone could swim, or everyone who had a canoe was all trying to find him. And I remember just like, wow, this can't be real. Of course they're going to find him. And he wound up dying. I remember he wound up dying, and they didn't find him. And it was crazy because we just kept saying, this can't be real. Like, no one really dies in front of you in real life. Like, when they find him, they're just going to resuscitate him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, like, just no. And I remember all the camp counselors told us to go back up to camp, and all the kids just walking, and everyone's just crying, and just so emotional. And I just remember it was my buddy who had invited him. And I remember him just broken, and he's like, why him? And I remember all the kids that were in my tent that night, they came back, and we all sat at the same bench. And I don't know how, but I know it was the Spirit of God. I know it was. I asked them, I said, did you guys pray last night? And they're like, yeah, we prayed. And I was like, that was our sign. Daniel was our sign. Do you not remember how he got up this morning and gave his whole life to God and said he wanted to change, and so said he felt the Spirit of God? And I told them this is our sign. God is real. God is real. And they all were like, wow. They were all like, still shooken up, but they were just like, wow. And I remember that night, the camp counselors, the people they invited to preach, changed the whole message. And I remember almost everyone gave their life to Christ that night. They did a altar call, they did the prayer. And the only person who didn't give their life was me. And I remember the camp counselor came and asked, why are you not? Didn't you just see your friend die? And I said, I know God's real now, but I'm not ready. And I remember just being so emotional, but I just wasn't ready. And I didn't know what to do at that point. So we went home, and everything just started to change. It wasn't like before, the times when I tried to be good and try to do different and try to follow God. Something was truly different this time. And I don't mean to call out anybody, but I know for a fact that most of those kids that went home, there wasn't a real change. I would see them later, and they were all the same. Most of them were all the same. There was a couple, I will say that. But when I got home, I remember thinking, I can't keep living the way I'm living. I would go to parties. I remember when my friends picked me up for a party. He had like a case or two of beer in his car. He's like, let's go party, bro. Come on. We get in the car. And I was like, all right. I was trying to make an excuse not to go. And I got to the party, and they were all just drunk. Everyone was drinking. And I was like, I don't even want to drink anymore. Like, I just only care about God. And I just want to know more about God and Jesus. I don't know if Jesus is truly God or what this is, but I just know God's real, and I can't keep doing this. And I drank a little bit with them over the next couple months, but I just couldn't, physically I couldn't do it anymore. And I got this pocket Bible. I had lost like 7 of them. I didn't even care before, but when I got this last one, when we had left camp, I started reading it. I remember reading Matthew and reading about the birth of Jesus and reading about all this stuff and the parables. And I started seeing myself like the same way you see yourself in a mirror. I started seeing myself, and I was like, wow, I truly am a sinner. I truly do need God's grace for my life, that I am on the way to hell. But God truly did send his son to die for me. It all just made sense. Like, if you ever meet a Christian, you could know they're a Christian. When they tell you the Bible starts to look like gold, that's not figurative. Like, everything starts looking so like crystal clear. It's like there's gold mines in the Bible. There's gold mines in those words. And you start to see your soul as that soul that Jesus is talking about, and the one he's saving, and saying, whoever puts faith in me, they will find life. And my kids are making noise in the front. But truly, when he says he will find life, he will find living water in me. And it took 4 months. And I had a premonition one night. I got to the point where I was living for Christ, but I was still trying to live for the world at the same time. And what finally happened was, I had this dream. I had this crazy chest pain one night, and I was just talking to God, like, God, I've given you everything. Like, why do you gotta take my music? I know, like, I'm about to blow up with music. Like, I'm about to be the next famous rapper and get all this money.